Hi, in this video, I'm going to be charcoal sketching, from a reference photo that I took near here. It's of a barn, field, mountains, or hills rather, and some trees. I brought the original photograph into Photoshop and made some changes to the composition. I added the trees, I added some weather. I always like a little bit of atmosphere in there, some fog, clouds, that sort of thing. And then took a lot of what was there that was not necessary out. I ran it through a filter to make it look painterly, but it allows me to see the major shapes a little easier. So that's what I've done there. So let's get started. Got some tree activity here. I'm just going to block in some stuff, kind of looking more at the outline than anything. And then down here, some of the ground, the grasses and whatnot, that'll all show up. So I'm just going to block in some stuff, making major shapes. There's some dark stuff around here. Kind of blends into the barn a little bit. And maybe some dark over here. This side. I like that contrast of the dark with the light of the roof of the barn. So I'm going to exploit that here. So kind of got our, I don't know why there's a line there. We've got our major shapes in the top portion here. Just going to go for general shapes, but there we have to differentiate the foreground from the background, and we'll do that. Oh, I see what's happening here. It's the fold of this. Maybe I have this upside down or something. Smear some of that around. Tree lines coming in here like that. So what we'll do is bring it over. Do some shapes over here, but then have that blend into the sky. Okay. All right, so we're getting there. We're getting some of the major shapes put in. That's fairly loose. Amorphous, if you will. And let's see here. Now we've got the field area. And that's going to be something like this. There's a sharp thing there. And the other thing I want to try to do is get some of those sprinklers in. I think those are neat highlights. Okay, and then we got some plant activity over here. Some shapes. It's all about the shapes. Then we got the go dark right here. That's fairly light right in this area right here, so I want to maintain that. And there's some light up here and something going on up here too, so we're going to keep that too. And let's see, we've got some dark there. And some stuff over here. We don't know what that is. I don't really care. I'm going to maybe make this more of a tree growth here just to accentuate that light to dark contrast there. And then maybe another one over here. Okay, something like that. We'll see. We're starting to take shape a little bit. Okay, so break that down so I have a little bit less to hold on to. Okay, and then we've got some darker things going on in here. Okay, so what I want to try to do now is using the eraser, kneaded eraser, start to add in some of the highlights. And they'll come and go as we work on the drawing. But it's always helpful to see as you draw. So we can kind of sculpt in some of these highlighted areas here. I'm not too sure about this highlight here, so I think I'm going to go dark next to that. Maybe even bring it in across that boundary of the edge of the barn there. Just make it more interesting. Back to the eraser here. So there we've got some shapes that we can pop in here. Just some random stuff going on. When we get too far, I don't want to get too far with it because I'm going to have to darken the foliage area. So the other thing to consider too is the sky. In my little reference here, I have a kind of a gray sky, but some light over here. So I'm going to try to do that. Let's see, maybe, I guess we'll just use, I was going to maybe use some pan pastels, but maybe we'll just do it with this. And just have the sky actually blend into the hillside here. And we'll leave some light areas of the sky, of the clouds. This is near where I live, and it's such a beautiful place. The morning fogs we get, since we're near the ocean, really adds a lot of character to the area. It makes for interesting, for me anyway, it's interesting subject matter. But in this area here, it's a nice hard edge right there. In contrast, that's where that light is, and that's what I want to maintain. So what we're going to do here is actually cut in some trees, distant trees here. I don't really care for that. That's a little bit edgy, but we can soften some of that. And then, it does continue off in here, but it's just suggested. We don't want it to be too pronounced. And in fact, maybe a little bit less, probably something like that. So then we've got something darker over here. Going around. Let's get rid of those lines. I pushed a little too hard there. Okay, and that's actually going to be paper white around those trees there. And we'll bring that down there. So we'll continue with that. And just kind of blend that off into the light. Again, taking advantage of the darkest area near the lightest area brings the eye in. We don't want these light areas to be too fussy, just enough to give it the appearance of fog or clouds or something like that. Don't want to draw your attention to the sky. This is not a drawing about sky. Let's start working on these trees up here now. So again, looking at edges, we want the edges tell the story. And let's see. Then we're gonna bring the kneaded eraser into, or some sort of eraser to carve out the lighter limbs there. I can go in later too and really darken this with compressed charcoal. Don't want anything too light on the edge. We don't want the eye to wander over there too much. We want to keep you in the drawing, in the scene here. We're getting closer here. Let's put some of that stuff in over here. Trees. I seem to lose my ability to speak while I'm drawing. It's a good skill to have, and it's something I need to practice. I'm always impressed by instructors or artists that can demo and speak intelligently at the same time. Okay, so let's try doing something down there. So we've got this angle where it's sort of hold my arm out straight, then drop it down and kind of get a feel for, yeah, it wasn't too far off. Okay. And we don't want to emulate exactly what's in the picture either. It's not, we're making something that's more artistic, so we want just to kind of give the the feel of what's going on in the field. All right. And then back here, it's very light. And I've got some darks coming in here. So we'll just kind of repeat that. So we've got these field lines, rows, and then just kind of giving the feel of what's going on. Okay. So the field there at the bottom is playing a supporting role to the whole picture. It's not really the subject. So the way I'm thinking of it is lights and darks, not as much shape. So I know, for instance, it's darker in this area here and lighter in the middle, which supports the viewer, keeps them in the picture. And then the other thing I'm doing here is it's purposely breaking this line right here. Just gives you a way to get up from the field. You can get into the rest of the picture, get around and then back down if you want to take that path. So I can draw a few lines in there. Yeah, maybe I won't do the sprinklers. It's probably not necessary. Though someday I'm going to do a drawing with some sprinklers in it. For some reason, I think those are neat highlights, and I like to do that. Around here, there are plenty to view. Okay, so back, taking care of that, I think, for now anyway. Now we're going to look at the trees again. I've got this nice movement of the trees kind of bringing you in this direction. So what I want to do here now is take out some highlights for tree trunks, and stems and things like that. We need to narrow that back a bit. Maybe make a slight angle of this one. Okay. It's going to be catching more light at the top than at the bottom. And then there'll be areas of shadow hitting. And we can start bringing some of the smaller branches in too, and just little bits of highlights. There's really no rhyme or reason for some of this, but it looks neat. I think I'm gonna. There we go. That's better. As I look at it, I do see the need to darken this a little bit more. So I'm going to run over it again and try not to wipe it off with my fingers this time. All right, so then on this side, we've got this nice tree that's in the light. So I'm going to use this kneaded eraser and kind of sculpt out some of that. And we've got a few little highlights up in here. So that is a plant that would be catching some light. Again, this is just a quick sketch for a compositional review before I do a painting. I'll usually do that. And painting rarely turns out like the drawing, but it does inform it. And I think I do see an area I need to work on here, and that's this area here. Let's just bring that down a little bit. There we go. So this area, these hills right here, it's very soft and kind of disappears, and that's what we want. We don't want we're not drawing the line of the top of the hills. Although I did, I guess I wiped it off with my finger. And we can do some negative stuff. It's fun to play with the eraser. And you can overdo it too. So there's these nice little fence posts up in here. And we have the telephone pole, which we could put, or power pole, which we could put in. Maybe I will. We'll just draw that up in there. Gives us a nice vertical. Okay, I don't know if you can hear Penny the dog barking in the background. That's nice. Now the other thing you could do is add these nice little lines to, well, probably won't want to do that, but to add another element of design in. And now I have these little fence posts in here. I'm not going to put them all in. I'm just going to do some. It adds another little nice element to the design. And we can even put some line in there. So yeah, I think that's fairly done. I'll call it for this one, and thanks for watching. And we'll see you next time.